PickingRealEstate.com is on the air.
Are we? Can they hear everything we say now?
They can right now.
Right now.
Very good. And while you're thinking, she's going to think about what to say. I'm giving my shout out to the de facto Starbucks board of directors, Chris Rowley, Troy Ganton, and Ed Southwood. We all met this morning. We solved many of the problems of the world. Yeah, we're not really addressing city problems. We're addressing problems of the world.
You should have called into this show. Yeah.
Is that what you do every morning?
Yeah.
I did not know that, and I'll start making a call in.
Very good.
And I have a shout out to...
How's Ed doing? I haven't seen him in a while.
Ed Southworth?
Yeah.
Very well. He's on the road a lot. He was headed to Detroit this morning. Yeah, I see Ed probably 3 times a week in Starbucks. If I'm not in court or in a meeting or teaching a class, I'll stop by Starbucks and we'll have a, like I say, de facto board of directors meeting there with these guys, trying to solve the problems of the world.
So can I run for the Housing Commission?
Sure.
I can?
Sure. Call Marty up and see if he can put you on there.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I think he's looking for people who live in the city.
I live in the city.
Oh, do you? Actually, I don't know where you live.
Yeah,
so.
I do live in the city.
Okay, I'm putting your name in the hat.
Yeah, I'll pass, but...
Well, their meetings, I think their meetings are at noon.
There are some openings.
So you could probably... Well, who knows? It's always good to have your name there in the ready in case there are openings.
I assume it's an appointment by the mayor, right?
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be approved by city council, or does the mayor simply approve? Does the mayor simply approve?
No, it has to be approved by city council.
Okay.
So, there you have it. I have a couple shout-outs. You're not the only one with shout-outs this morning, Bill.
You have friends, too?
I have friends, too. Teresa at Pacific Tan, and Pacific Tan was kind enough to donate to the city employees auction that they do. And you know our auction...
That they did.
That they did.
Right.
And they do it every year, apparently, silent auction. And the employees of the city raised almost $2,200 for the Jackala family.
That was day before yesterday at a luncheon, right?
Yeah, it was really nice.
Yep.
Good for them.
Yeah. So their mind can be a little more at ease over the holidays. So. And then Brenda at Beck's. Beck's came to my rescue, made my house look absolutely beautiful. So drive past my house and you'll see.
Oh,
the exterior looks great.
Good.
My opinion. Between Beck's and Jackie. Right? Right? Doesn't it look great?
Very nice. And the good thing is Laura has what's known as a brown thumb. And so all of the things that were put in by Beck's require no watering, no care, no nothing. Now, they will be dead. They'll be gone by the end of the winter. But it's just as well they would have been dead if they had been living things anyway.
Right, exactly.
And I'm not saying this as an insult to my wife. I'm saying
not
this
everybody can have a green thumb. My
simply as
sister
a
has
matter
a green
of fact.
thumb.
All you have to do is water it.
I tell her that.
I call Betsy. Betsy's my savior when it comes to the gardening.
Okay.
She's the green thumb in the family. She's a master gardener.
Yeah.
Her garden's amazing.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah. So I'm good at what I do. Other people are good at what they do. I don't pretend. All I gotta say.
We're still waiting to find out those things at which she is good. But, you know, she's young. She's got a lot of time to work that out.
You got some pent-up hostility going on there, buddy?
And probably just a little too much coffee at Starbucks this morning.
I think you're taking your hands in your life in your own hands.
Putting my hands in my own life?
Yeah. So what do you want to talk about?
You're asking me?
Sure.
Well, a couple of weeks ago I wanted to talk about conflicts of interest.
That's still hanging over your head there.
Well, we've tried to talk about the last couple of weeks and it hasn't
I thought we hit
happened.
on it last week a little bit.
That's
all right. Go for it. Start.
No, I just said that what I had started to say. This is like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Was I was involved in a case, and I won't tell your listeners where or when, other than recently. But it involved a situation in which a buyer and seller in real estate went to a single lawyer to. They weren't certain what they wanted the lawyer to do, and the point I wanted to make is that it spelled trouble for the lawyer. It always spells trouble for the lawyer. The same thing is true with respect to a real estate licensee to try and represent two people in the same transaction who are on opposite sides of the negotiating table. That there are always things that even though the parties think that they agree on everything. In fact, they don't actually agree on everything, and there are things that they don't even know about that the real estate agent or the lawyer will be able to tell them. I mean, you can take something as simple as tax proration and the different ways to prorate taxes. There are several ways. There are two ways that are in favor of the seller, two ways that are in favor of the buyer, and they can often make the difference of several thousands of dollars. Same thing is true with respect to a number of other things that go on in that deal, not just economic, but also in terms of representations and warranties. I just closed a deal over in Ann Arbor on a business and a property. A very expensive deal in which we spent literally days nif-gnawing or arguing and negotiating over what the representations and warranties were going to be. And when we got down to closing, the representations and warranties turned out to be absolutely critical to my client, who was the buyer, in terms of what they were able to get in terms of the ultimate quality of the property they were buying. My point is that if you're involved in a real estate deal and you're talking with the other party to it, you think you have a deal, you got the economics worked out, that doesn't mean that you have everything else worked out. And beware of a lawyer and beware of a real estate agent who says, I can adequately represent both your interests. It's easier for a real estate licensee in the sense that they are able to say to the parties, look, here is our standard form, here are the things that we have in it, here's how it's done in this community. And so you act as a transaction coordinator or as a dual agent. That is permitted under the statute in the state of Michigan. It is not. There's no statutory exception for lawyers. The exceptions are very, very, very limited. And as I say, a lawyer takes his or her license in his or her own hands instead of their lives in terms of representing.
Shouldn't a
both
lawyer
parties.
be aware of that, Bill?
In
As
fact,
that is transpiring and step away?
not only should the lawyer be aware, but we have what are called, they used to be called the canons of ethics. They're now called the Michigan Rules of Professional Conduct, MRPC. Lawyers are required to abide by those rules in order to maintain their license, his or her license. And if they fail to do so, an aggrieved person, that person's client, or even somebody on the other side of a transaction, if the lawyer did something that was a violation of the rules vis-a-vis the other client, the other party, or the other lawyer, you can file a grievance with the State Bar of Michigan in order to bring that person before the bar, have members of the Bar Association investigate whether or not there has been a violation of the rules. And there is a specific rule, 1.7, which deals with attorney conflicts of interest. And it even goes on to say that there are some conflicts of interest where even if the lawyer explains to the parties that there is this inherent conflict of interest, do they understand it and they sign off on it, and some lawyers do this, they get the parties to sign off on it, that in fact it's called a non-consentable conflict of interest. In other words, no matter what you say to the parties and no matter what document they sign saying that they understand there's a conflict and waive that conflict, you cannot do it under our disciplinary rules. It's very, very
So would it be a conflict if an attorney represented a corporation and then they spoke poorly of the corporation in one way or another?
Well, no, I can't speak poorly of my own clients. I don't care whether it's a corporation
So
or
the
an
answer is
individual.
yes, not no.
Yeah, I'm an advocate. I'm an advocate for my clients.
What do you mean speak poorly?
Well,
Disparage my own client?
Right.
No, I would
What
never.
if
I
you're
would
just
never
telling the
disparage
truth?
near the
Truthfully.
corporate.
Wait. You talking about a lawyer?
I'm talking about a
Oh,
lawyer.
excuse me. Whoops. I forgot we're talking about lawyers.
Yeah.
Kidding. No, look.
So if a lawyer that works for a corporation speaks
speaks
against
ill of his own client,
yep, then is there a
is it a
violation
violation?
of the canons of ethics?
I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. If it involved the matter in which the lawyer was representing that client, and again, forget if that's a corporation. A client is a client is a client. And so if the lawyer disparages his or her own client with respect to the matter in which the attorney is representing a client, the answer is probably yes. If, on the other hand, what lawyer would disparage their own client? It's sort of a non sequitur that you wouldn't disparage your own client because you simply, as a matter of self-interest, economic interest, I'm not going to disparage my clients to others because I'm going to lose that client, I assume. So whether it's a violation of the rules of professional conduct or not is, at this point, for purposes of this conversation, irrelevant. It may be, I don't know. I'd have to look at the rules specifically with respect to disparagement. You can't disparage judges, you can't disparage other lawyers, you can't disparage people
Even
in
if
general.
you're circumventing the law?
Circumventing the law in terms of what?
You mean if their client's circumventing the law? Or if the attorney's
No,
circumventing the law?
when you talk about circumventing the law, I actually encountered this in a recent transaction in which I used the analogy of the Michigan Rules of Professional Conduct. You know that if a lawyer knows that his client or a witness in a trial is committing perjury, is testifying falsely, that lawyer has a duty under our professional rules to ask for a stop in the proceedings and then seek an in-camera or an in-chambers interview with a judge or a conference with a judge to advise the judge that in fact he believes or she believes that perjury is being committed. We are not allowed to suborn perjury, to encourage perjury, or to allow it to happen in the court. People don't understand this about lawyers. They think lawyers are sharks and shysters. For the most part, they are not. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a lawyer, but lawyers, no, the rules don't go to me. It is true.
There's always bad apples.
Most lawyers abide by the rules of professional conduct. We try to, and the rules of professional conduct essentially follow the golden rule too, in terms of, what should I be doing? What's ethical? What's right? Those are sort of common sense things. And we started this conversation on conflict of interest. We're now talking about disparagement, and we've moved into actual lying under oath. We cannot countenance that. We have as much interest in assuring that the legal system, the system of justice, actually works.
As do realtors when we're
As do
representing
realtors as well.
both
Right.
parties. Then we have to be fair to all parties.
I just wonder how many in-cameras in the Kilpatrick case.
Yeah, that's an interesting case. I do a fair amount of federal court work, and I do some federal and state court criminal work in environmental. When someone's alleged to have criminally violated our environmental laws, I get involved in that. Federal courts are outstanding in terms of their process. The Jackson County Circuit Court, actually District Court bench, we have an excellent bench here in this county, and I practice throughout the state, same in Washington and some others. But in the Kilpatrick case, a little different. I don't really know what's going on there. Very difficult prosecution, I would assume, but what you hear in terms of testimony is not particularly encouraging what was going on in city government. Now, I know that's not happening.
Particularly truthful?
No, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, the thing about it is a lawyer won't put his own client on the stand if the lawyer knows that the client is going to commit perjury. Because if my client is on the witness stand and my client commits perjury, I have an absolute duty to advise the court that I know that the testimony is false or believe it to be false. Okay. Now, you talk about city government and what's going on in the Kilpatrick case. The nice thing is in the city of Jackson, now that my wife is on city council, we don't have to worry about any of that sort of stuff, and the other council members as well. We have a pretty good city government here. And I'm not saying that just because I sleep with one of the council people.
Rolled your eyes, Greg.
I did not.
Jackie got it on film.
No, that would be a trick.
She's good, I'm telling you.
Okay.
So conflict of interest with realtors,
Yeah.
buyer, seller, that happens often now because we don't have as many realtors in the industry as we used to because the business isn't as easy as it used to be.
Well, do you like to do that, or do you prefer to stay away from that situation?
I would prefer to have another agent bring the buyer, but I'm not doing my seller any favor if I don't work with buyers that are interested in their property, or if I have a buyer that I'm already working with and I know my seller that I have's property is perfect for him. I'm not doing either one of them service if I avoid.
Well, and the other thing is that the agent real estate law the Michigan Occupational Code and the law applicable to real estate licensees requires that they recommend to the parties to the transaction that they each get independent counsel to assure that the details of the sales agreement, purchase agreement are properly carried out, that there's marketable title, etc. So there's a difference between real estate licensees who actually make that recommendation that they go seek independent counsel.
And that's right now in purchase agreement. Plus we have what's known as an agency disclosure that's required. So we go over, at least I go over, actually every licensee in the state with a residential transaction has to go over whether it's a seller, what seller agency is, buyer agency, dual, agency and transaction coordinator.
And lawyers don't have a similar statutory requirement, but our disciplinary rules do require that we explain what's going on. The problem is it's not written in a statute as it is for real estate licensees. So in that respect, people in a real estate transaction are better advised in writing as to who's doing what for whom and to whom in that particular deal. Whereas if someone walks into, and a lot of people walk into a lawyer's office, they've never been to a lawyer before, they don't know what they're supposed to ask, they're a little intimidated, ask them, you know, what is it that you're doing for me? Do you have the expertise?
And see, in our agency disclosure, it's spelled out the minimum service that we have to. In the state of Michigan, it's spelled out the minimum service.
Find out what the competence of the lawyer is. If you're going in there with the other party, get a good explanation of what that conflict is. How are you going to charge for the services? All that sort of stuff, which is spelled out in the realty contract and the listing agreement and then the purchase agreement. Not spelled out when somebody walks into a lawyer's office.
Now, is it quiet this time of year for you?
It was for that just minute. Did you hear that quiet?
Well, there was a brief pause.
Keep it up. I'm never coming back.
In real estate, Christmas,
you know,
New
actually,
Year's, you're not doing any real estate deals, are you?
We got a call today to show a house on Saturday, and that's our Christmas is on Saturday. You know, what I have found over the last several years, couple of years actually, with this downturn in economy, people want to look at houses when they're on vacation because they don't want to take the time off from work to go look at a house. And right now, we have the shortest days. So they have to look at it almost before 5 o'clock to be able to see anything. So we do get busier during the holidays. Just put it right on my shopping list.
Okay.
But I was going to tell you what I tell my buyers and sellers, that most items with regard to anything confidential, you can find, if it's a divorce or anything like that, you can usually find on the internet or public records. So I always tell them the most confidential thing is the least you'll take for the home if you're the seller, and the most you'll pay for the home if you're the buyer. So don't tell me that.
You're looking at me?
Well, you always seem to have a comment.
A comment about
But
that?
you can't comment on that because now I have to talk about my real estate.
Please do.
We forgot to give out the number. That must be why we didn't get any questions.
Oh, we had plenty of questions.
Oh, do we? Okay. So I have a nice new
This went fast, didn't it?
It did. It did.
You asked Bill one question,
And there it goes.
that's it.
Don't get snarky with me this morning. I'm never coming back as a guest.
Yeah, whatever.
No.
On this show.
Yeah. I just listed yesterday a condo on Wooddale, 2812 South Wooddale, which is in Timber Meadows condominium off of Spring Arbor Road.
Mm-hmm.
2 bedrooms, 1.5 bath. Really cool basement. It's got knotty pine paneling. It's just a very cool place. Beautiful. Move-in condition, $121,900. To 1-car garage attached. And then I have 514 South Wisner. Now there's a house we should buy with the elevator, so as we grow old, we don't have to walk
Are you
up
looking at
those
Greg?
steps.
You looking at Jackie? Or are you looking at me?
I'm looking at you.
Oh.
You're the oldest one in the room.
Okay,
think.
this is supposed to
You
make me
still
feel
live in
better
yours,
just
do you?
before Christmas? Is that
Yeah.
what you're doing?
Anyhow, that's a cool house. 4 bedrooms, 1 full bath, 2 half baths. Or is it 1 half bath, 2 half bath? Anyhow, come see it. It's a split stairway Georgian. It has an elevator in it.
Wow.
$199,900.
And where is that again?
514 South Wisner. It looks like Paul Revere should be living in that house, coming out the door, you know, to
Bill's
jump
not
on his
that
horse.
old.
It's a colonial or something like that?
It's a split stairway Georgian or colonial. I don't know. Anyhow, call me. I need listings. Call me.
Call Laura.
780-3800. Or go to the website 780-3800.com or thinkingrealestate.com.
Merry Christmas, Bill.
Hey, Merry Christmas to everyone out there. It's our last show before Christmas and then one more before New Year's.
We'll see you next Thursday.
Okay.